The COVID-19 vaccination of kids aged 5 to 11 will not push through tomorrow after facing last-minute problems. Our Caroline Bonkin joins us live from San Juan City. Caroline?
The Phil Oil Flying V Center here in San Juan City is just one of the 6 inoculation sites that were supposed to start vaccinating 5 to 11 years old on Friday. Health workers here already did a simulation of the rollout earlier, and in fact, decorations are already in place like balloons and these colorful flags to make the children more at ease. But just this afternoon, the San Juan City government already sent messages to parents of over 2,000 kids rescheduling the supposed vaccination on Friday and Saturday to next week. Presidential Advisor for COVID-19 Response, Vince Dizon, announces the rollout of the pediatric vaccination for this age group has been moved to Monday, February 7th. He cites delays in shipping of the Pfizer vaccines due to logistical concerns. 760,000 low-dose Pfizer vaccines were supposed to arrive tonight, but the delivery was rescheduled or has been rescheduled to Friday night.
DHL wrote DOH informing them of the delay. I think it was an issue with the plane that was going to bring the doses here tonight. So there's a delay of 1 day. So it will arrive tomorrow evening. So because of that, we will have to postpone the launch to Monday. So instead of tomorrow.
In a statement, the health department said they decided to reschedule to ensure adequate preparation and distribution of the vaccines. Again, children aged 5 to 11 cannot take the usual Pfizer vaccines reserved for 12 years old and above because the younger age group is only recommended to take a low dose. Pia.
Caroline Bonkin there reporting live from San Juan City. Well, Cebu City also pushing back its vaccination schedule for children aged 5 to 11 because of the high number of COVID-19 cases in the city. Cebu's City Health Office Chief Jeffrey Ibones says they were supposed to begin the vaccination after February 4, but they're now moving the rollout to February 14. The Regional Health Department yesterday reported nearly 7,000 active cases in Cebu City, including 210 new infections. 12 deaths were also reported on the same day. The city government says there will be a series of meetings with the Cebu Pediatric Society to further enhance preparations for pediatric vaccination. While the government has moved pediatric vaccination to next week, some parents are hesitant about having their children inoculated. Our senior correspondent David Santos reports.
Just outside Manila Zoo, adults eager to tour their kids and have them vaccinated as well.
May privilege na sila na lumabas, gaya ngayon. Kailangan natin yan. Kung tayo nga mga adult, kailangan natin ng protection, di ba?
Manila Zoo will be among half a dozen sites where the first batch of 5 to 11-year-olds will be getting their COVID vaccines. The DOH reports close to 400,000 children have become sick with COVID, with almost half of them within the 5 to 11 range. A separate study shows of the more than 1,800 kid hospitalizations, majority recovered but close to 150 died. While some parents are eager to have their kids vaccinated, many others remain hesitant. In a slum area in Manila, we met Christina, whose 3 of 4 grandkids are eligible to be inoculated.
Hindi naman kami nakakasigurado dahil marami kaming nababalitaan na negative.
I asked her where she got her information.
Sa TV, maraming lumalabas na mga, hindi lang sa TV, sa lahat ng media, nalalaman po yan na may mga namamatay, may mga na yung napaparalyze.
I told Christina legit media organizations have made no such reports. After minutes of back and forth, she finally relented.
At least napaliwanagan sa akin na ganoon.
Kung meron po kayong mga agam-agam, ang pinakamaganda po ay kumausap kayo ng isang health professional that you trust.
Hindi naman magbibigay ang pamahalaan ng isang bakuna na hindi ligtas at mabisa.
Aside from life-saving protection, experts say vaccinating kids is also a shot at returning to schools and hopefully a normal childhood. David Santos, CNN Philippines.
Amid concerns on the inoculation of kids aged 5 to 11, two people have sought a temporary restraining order against pediatric vaccination. Journalist Dominic Almelor and a Girly Samonte filed a petition with a Quezon City court for the, quote, unconstitutional directive of the Health Department on the rollout of COVID-19 shots for the age group. They also want the order deemed null and void for what they say is being issued in grave abuse of discretion. As they say, it takes away the authority of parents or guardians to decide for their children. Petitioners cited a portion of the DOH directive which says the state may give consent if a parent or guardian refuses to have their children vaccinated, despite the desire or willingness of the child. They also note vaccines are not yet fully approved, so children should be spared from what they say is undue experimentation. Now, reacting to this, the Health Department and the National Task Force Against COVID-19 say the policy is the result of a careful study by health experts and is approved in many countries, including the United States. They also note there have been no adverse events among the 12 to 17 age group since the rollout began last year, which proves all vaccines are safe and effective. Now, more schools in areas under Alert Level 2 will reopen for face-to-face classes. Education Secretary Leonor Briones has ordered all regional directors to implement the resumption and expansion of limited face-to-face classes for both public and private schools in their areas. 28 pilot schools in Metro Manila will start classes on February 9. By February 14, 57 schools in the Calabarzon region will take part in the expansion of face-to-face classes. Around 100 schools in Bulacan have also expressed readiness to reopen physical classes by February 21. Briones says these schools need to first secure a clearance from their respective local governments. Only vaccinated students and teachers are allowed to take part. President Duterte in quarantine after exposure to a COVID-positive household staff. Acting palace spokesperson Cardinal Nograles says the president tested negative for the virus and will continue to perform his duties as chief executive while in quarantine. In a separate message, Nograles said the president was last exposed to the staff member January 30th. His RT-PCR test result on January 31st, the next day, came out negative. He retested again the next day, February 1, and again tested negative. Nograles added the president's visit to the Cardinal Santos Medical Center in San Juan was for, quote, his routine medical checkup only. CNN Philippines is asking Nograles for more details about that visit. He has yet to respond. When we return on Newsnight, the president's signature is all that's needed for a bill easing restrictions on foreign ownership, and it's bringing interest from investors abroad. Plus, time is ticking for Mr. Duterte, who must select replacements for retired poll officials. The election watchdogs say the names should be released soon. More after the break. to Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. I'm Pia Ontiveros. Consumers have been grappling with rising fuel prices for the past 5 weeks. Since the new year, fuel costs have increased by up to almost 8 pesos. In this report, Stanley Gaheta explains how these affect the prices of some basic commodities.
Eric Albor's family food budget is good enough for a day. No extra for basic commodities that could last for days or even a week.
Naghanap na lang ng mga bultuhan na tumpok-tumpok na lang, tag-100, mga ganun. Pwede na yun, pagkaasay na yun. Kahit sa gas pa lang, sa gasolina, ang taas ng tinaas eh.
Yung asukal po namin, tumaas na mga isang sako 3K. Sa itlog naman po, meron pong 150, 165, tsaka 170.
Albor is paying more for food as a result of pass-on production and transportation costs from the agriculture sector due to the steady rise in fuel prices.
Pag sinasabi nating petroleum, unang-una doon is fertilizer sagad. So, sa ngayon po, nagdoble na ang presyo ng fertilizer. Sinabawasan na nila yung input ng kanilang fertilizer kasi ganun lang yung kaya ng pera nila.
Supermarkets can't help but also raise prices of basic items like canned goods, infant formula, and adult milk this month because of higher costs from the source.
Ang pagpresyo ng isang produkto is a management decision. By whom? By the manufacturer. Maaring it pushes them to decide, okay, it's time to increase our prices.
Fuel prices have risen since the beginning of the year, and the latest was by almost 75 centavos per liter for gasoline and diesel. But the transport sector is cautious on seeking a fair increase at this time.
Very careful ang piston sa paggamit ng option na yan. Kasi nga, ang tatamaan din, mga ordinaryong mga kababayan din natin.
According to the Energy Department, fuel prices keep rising because of uncertainties in the global market. In particular, tensions in Russia and Ukraine and the Middle East. Supply disruption in Turkey due to pipeline explosions and production concerns on the part of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries despite rising demand.
Tumataas ang pangangailangan sa krudo at petroleum products. Tumaas na ang demand, nagkaroon pa ng problema sa supply.
For an oil import-dependent economy, the government continues to monitor global prices and tries to mitigate their impact on consumers like Eric Albor.
Napaka-volatile ng prices sa petroleum product. Maaring bumaba kagad, hindi mo naman kagad mabawi kagad yung tinaas mo.
The Energy Department says global oil demand will remain high as economies reopen and recover from the effects of the pandemic. Stanley Gaheta, CNN Philippines.
As the country eases pandemic restrictions, the government is also relaxing rules for foreign investors. A proposed law allowing full foreign ownership of businesses now up for the president's approval. Senior correspondent Lois Calderon explains what that will mean for ordinary Filipinos.
A game changer for foreign investors. The Philippines has rewritten economic rules by opening up telecommunications, airlines, and railways to foreign ownership 100%. The bill amending the Public Service Act is about to become a law, with President Duterte's signature set to seal it. For decades, foreigners can only own up to 40% in those industries. That turned off big foreign names back when the Philippines was in search for a third telco player. Let us hear Lars Wittig, president of the European Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines.
These companies we expect to return here. So now we say yes to billions, we say yes to Elon Musk, we say yes to the latest state of the art.
Europeans look interested in transport infrastructure too.
We can all compete on the same terms for domestic freight, domestic travel, and that will only be for the better of the Filipinos, for logistics. We expect foreign direct investments to maybe go into a double-digit billion-dollar level.
Lawmaker Joey Salceda expects an increase of up to 300 billion pesos in foreign direct investments over the next 5 years. Yet amid the cheers, there were jeers too. Critics and militant groups Gabriela and InfraWatch attack the redefinition of public utilities as unconstitutional. Still, lawmakers put a safeguard to protect national security and sovereignty. Foreign state-owned enterprises are prohibited from owning capital in any public service classified as public utility or critical infrastructure. State-owned China Telecoms owns 40% of third telco player Dito Telecommunity. Dito says the Beijing-owned telco will keep it that way.
So we're still studying it. For telco, kailangan mo ng malaking pera talaga. And if the local market cannot provide that money, then foreign investors really are needed. No? The 40% stake ng China Tel, that's unimpaired.
Lifting foreign ownership limits is a game changer, not only for business. Those who support it hope it will translate to cheaper airfare, train tickets, shipping costs, and faster internet. For when there's greater competition, it's the consumer who wins. Lois Calderon, CNN, Philippines.
A relief for employees as lawmakers seek to prohibit working beyond 8 or 12 hours. Calamba City Representative Joaquin Chipeco filed the Workers' Rest Bill, which will apply to those even working from home. Under the measure, employers will not be allowed to call, email, or message their employees during rest hours. Corresponding fines will be imposed on violators. Chipeco's bill is the counterpart of Senator Francis Tolentino's proposed measure. Workers share their sentiment on the proposed law.
Suportado ko yun na hindi na pwede dapat aguluhin. Halimbawa, pag nasa bahay na yung empleyado, tapos kailangan magaganto for emergency kasi kulang yung empleyado. Feeling ko hindi dapat gawin yon kasi rights namin na magpahinga na.
Depende yung kuya sa sitwasyon kung kinakailangan tapusin yung dapat tapusin ngayong araw. Pwede naman po.
The Labor Department says it supports any proposal that will benefit the welfare of workers, but the department is apprehensive about penalizing employers. For the first time, presidential aspirants will share the same platform to discuss their plans for the country in detail. But as Anjo Alimario tells us, one hopeful declined to attend.
6 presidential aspirants have been invited to the Panata sa Bayan, the 2022 Presidential Candidates Forum of the Kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas. Vice President Leni Robredo, Manila Mayor Isko Moreno, Senators Manny Pacquiao and Panfilo Lacson, and Labor leader Caliori de Guzman are attending. Former Senator Bongbong Marcos, however, says he's not joining. His reason, conflict of schedule. As early as January 19, Marcos had already declined.
Pero ang nakasulat kasi nakalagay doon ay ang prior commitments niya currently, ang nakalagay, may word na currently ma-recall ko sa sulat. His prior commitments have not cleared up yet, no? Kaya we were still hopeful na, baka may mga changes.
This isn't the first time Marcos declined to attend a presidential forum or interview. He turned down GMA's Jessica Soho presidential interviews, citing the host's alleged bias. On Wednesday, Robredo faced DCRH Bakit Ikaw presidential job interview for more than 2 hours, despite having an openly critical panel member. There, she was asked if it's possible for her and Marcos to unite.
Pag basta lang natin tinanggap yung ganon, dahil lang sa unification, ano yung mensaheng binibigay natin sa tao? Na okay lang? Na okay lang yung lahat ng mga abuses na ginawa in the past? Na okay lang yung korupsyon? Na okay lang na convicted ka of a crime na hindi mo pa napapanagutan? Yung conviction mo ay ino-offer mo ulit yung sarili mo.
Robredo was in Pampanga on Thursday to turn over antigen test kits in Guagua and Angeles. Meanwhile, Manila Mayor Isko Moreno is urging Filipinos to rekindle the patriotism and love of country of our World War II heroes and emulate their trait as we fight COVID-19. Senator Panfilo Lacson, on the other hand, is offering 2 possible solutions to mitigate the oil price increases. One is to amend the provision on fuel excise tax under the train law. The other is to push for a joint oil exploration in the West Philippine Sea.
Sa akin, maganda rin yung, sa ngayon, ang alam ko, pumapagi yung China doon sa 60-40, meaning 40% lang sila. Sa akin, symbolic yun. Ba't hindi natin papayagan? Pagka sila sumang-ayon doon sa ating saligang batas na sa joint exploration, yung joint endeavor, no? At 60-40, ibig sabihin, sa akin, subliminally, kinikilala nila sa atin yun.
Anjo Alimario, CNN Philippines.
Calyodi de Guzman slams Marcos for declining to attend the KBP forum. For the labor leader, Marcos's refusal to participate in the event shows he'll also back out when faced with crisis if he wins the presidency. The Commission on Elections says non-participation in forums and debates is not a red flag for the poll body, but for COMELEC spokesperson James Jimenez, skipping these events is a red flag for voters and a missed opportunity to know more about the country's aspiring leaders.
I think it's very important that in recognition of how important it is to the people, that we acknowledge that they failed to show up, right? It's not going to be glossed over. It's not going to be ignored. They're going to have a podium right there with their name on it and no face above it. So that's their lookout.
Catch the KBP Presidential Forum tomorrow at 9 in the morning, moderated by our senior anchor Rico Hizon and ABS-CBN's Karen Davila. The forum will be simulcast on our news channel, ABS-CBN, TV5, and over 300 broadcast stations nationwide. Our senior anchor, Pinky Webb, will also host a pre-forum special at 8:30 in the morning, only here on CNN Philippines. Various groups urge President Duterte to disclose his short list of possible replacements for 3 COMELEC officials who retired this week. Trisha Terada filed this report.
With just 3 months to go before the May elections, President Duterte has yet to pick replacements for retired COMELEC Chairman Sherif Abbas and Commissioners Rowena Guanzon and Antonio Co. Jr. Participate a non-partisan coalition of academe, civil society organizations, youth groups, and sectoral leaders wants the president to disclose the shortlist and specific standards he will be using to select the next officials of the poll body. They say the public has the right to know.
Now, if we select, commissioners who are more of the same right now, insofar as their tie-ups to Duterte, whether as schoolmates, fraternity brothers, or region mates or city mates, that would be very, very problematic.
Political analyst Dr. Jean Franco says these are valid anxieties and concerns in light of the 2005 Hello Garci scandal, where a sitting president and a COMELEC official allegedly rigged poll results. Franco also says it's crucial for President Duterte to be seen as objective, as his daughter is vying for the second highest post.
If the president has a hand in filling all these vacancies, then syempre hindi maaalis na mag-alala at magkaroon ng suspecha yung mga tao. So the COMELEC and even the president himself should be transparent.
The COMELEC will soon be composed of 7 members, all handpicked by President Duterte. Same scenario in 2016 when all commissioners were appointed by then President Noynoy Aquino. As the polls near, election watchdogs and organizations call on Mr. Duterte to select commissioners with integrity, proven competence, and independent.
We need independent-minded people in the COMELEC, and to appoint, 3 commissioners right now would be very, very crucial to the integrity of our elections.
Our democracy is actually at stake in this selection. Kung walang tiwala yung mga tao dito sa tatlong ito, di malulusaw din yung tiwala dun sa resulta at yung conduct ng buong May 2022 election.
Franco and Arrow say the president must pick candidates outside his circle to send a clear message that his choice was based solely on their integrity and experience. Trisha Terada, CNN Philippines.
Straight ahead, BTS member Jimin gives an update on his health after testing positive for COVID-19 and undergoing surgery. And we take a look at how the national team fared against South Korea in its AFC Asian Cup semifinal match. Stay tuned to CNN Philippines. Welcome back to CNN Philippines. The Philippine women's football team suffers a loss to South Korea in the AFC Asian Cup with a score of 0-2. The Korean team went in strong, scoring 2 goals just in the first half. In its previous match, the Philippines notably made a historic win. It qualified for the Football World Cup for the first time ever after beating Chinese Taipei. Also advancing to the World Tournament are Asian quarterfinals victors China, Japan, and South Korea. And before we go, Jimin of BTS delivering some good news to fans yesterday, assuring them he is recovering well after catching COVID-19 and undergoing an operation. The K-pop idol posted an update on web platform Weverse, saying he may be able to leave the hospital soon. BTS management company announced earlier this week that Jimin was diagnosed with the virus on Sunday and had to undergo surgery for acute appendicitis the next day. And that is it for tonight. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pio Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
This program is brought to you by